Welcome to this introduction to GURPS, one of my favorite role-playing game ever made. For me, it's still to this day my favorite and the most solid design I can think of. So this introduction will be for people who heard about GURPS, are interested about learning the game and learning about how to play it, how to create a character. And it is dedicated to a fellow YouTuber, Juice, from the Juice Factory. He asked me to do this video, so I'm slightly entering the rabbit hole here because of course I have a lot to say about this game. So let's start simple, and this video will pretty much expose the basic premises of the game and how to use it, and in fact I will give you the 3 basic mechanics that is used in the game, and starting from that point you could be very well able to play. So let's start with the word GURPS. Well, this acronym comes from Steve Jackson, who was using the acronym in his document when he was writing the book, and he was in fact expecting to find a better title, but the acronym stuck, and it became like the very game gained its identity by this term, this acronym. So it stands for, as you can see on the cover, for Generic Universal Role-Playing System. This is 3rd edition right here in softcover format, and this is 4th edition. If you want to start in GURPS right now, of course the current edition is the 4th edition, but the most supported version of the game is 3rd edition. You will find more books for this edition of the game. But GURPS being GURPS, you can easily start your learning with 4th edition, and just pick up any book of any edition of GURPS, and you will quickly be able to use it in your games. So if I decompose the acronym, it's generic because the game uses plain English words through and through. So no complex term, no made-up words. A second is a second, a minute is a minute, dexterity is dexterity, intelligence is intelligence. So stuff in the game, often if you use your common sense, you will be able to figure out what it does. So it is universal, the U in GURPS, because you can pretty much use it to do anything. In any genre, any historical period, this game can pull it off and can do anything. In fact, it has a reputation to have a rule for everything. It's not it's not possible, of course, but it's pretty close. It's pretty encompassing as a design can go. It's also a role-playing system, so it's a system because it uses the same 3 mechanics through and through to resolve everything in the game. And mainly you mainly use one mechanic in all incarnation of the game, all the various rules. You use the basic core mechanic. And I would add to this acronym maybe options, because it would be an understatement to to say that GURPS have not support or was not supported in the past. And the truth is that nowadays, since its prime is gone, it's very easy to find books on the cheap, source book that people are selling because they don't play the game anymore. It's very easy to grab these books for cheap, and it covers the whole gamut. It covers modern, fantasy, sci-fi, superheroes, you name it. The three core mechanic of GURPS, the three core system rules are the following. The first one is 3d6, as illustrated here, and you have to roll it under or equal to your skill, attribute, self-control number. Everything in the game, you will have a level associated with it. 10 being the average in most skills and attributes. So if I roll here, I rolled a 13. So if my stats was a 10, of course I would have rolled a failure. If I had rolled this, I would be perfectly successful in what I was attempting. So that's the basic mechanic of the game, and it's not more complicated than that. The second rule of GURPS is damage. If something like a punch in the face do some damage, let's suppose on my character sheet it says 1 dice of damage, which would translate in a very, very powerful punch. 5 would be the damage to your face, and you would be probably down at this point, if you were a normal human, of course. So damage just have these, like any other games, you have a code with dice, and you roll the dice and you add them up. The third and final mechanics of the games, your game master will use it more than you do if you play. It is called a reaction roll, and it is the equivalent to the D20 reaction or diplomacy check to see if a NPC that is not scripted, how this NPC will react to you. So it is your GM will roll 3d6 again, but this time he will try to aim high to give you a better reaction. And if you have a modifier based on your charisma advantage, or if you have a skill that give you a bonus, or if you're handsome or beautiful, this might have an influence on this check, on this roll. And the GM will look in his book on the reaction chart, and you will have an idea of this random reaction roll over here. Of course, some NPCs may have been already scripted by your game master, and you won't be needing this mechanics. It's just to randomly distribute a reaction. Like you want to enter a castle and there is a guard in front of the door. Will this guard will be inclined to let you pass the door? This type of roll will determine that. So that's it. This is the game. This is basically the game. Concerning the character in GURPS, it's a point-by character creation system. So the game master and all the players, when they sit at a table to create a game, the game master or the table will decide on the scale and scope of the game, and a point budget will be determined. So let's say you will end up with 150 points to build your character. That will be your budget to buy everything you need in the game. I will do a video on character creation in the following days or weeks. So my first suggestion to plunge into the subject and to just start to learn GURPS, first I would recommend to go grab the GURPS Lite. It is free, it is online, and you can just print it or read it as a PDF on your tablet or your computer screen. And just with this book you will learn so much more about the basic rule I just mentioned. You will learn not only that you can roll under your skill for success, for example, but what does it take to roll a critical success or a critical failure. So you will find all these little detailed rules in the GURPS Lite version. And it is maybe just the skeleton of a game, but I could envision a person with not so much financial means. I could envision this person to run several sessions or maybe a full campaign with just a little imagination and the GURPS Lite as a basic for a game. It's very easy to do, and it's very comprehensive, and you could pretty much guess where the design goes and make stuff up based on that. My second recommendation to learn GURPS would be to start small. Don't try to eat this old thing, this old beast in one chewing. I mean, there is a lot of rules you will find in this book. But the truth is, when you play a game, you don't have to take all these rules and make a game with it. This is not the way of this game. If you're planning on running a swashbuckler, pirate and musketeer game, there is some rules you won't need. For example, the full and complete rules for firearms. You will not need these because in your games, just the basic swashbuckling combat techniques will prevail and be useful in your game. So the whole tome of GURPS is not super useful if you use it all together. It's not the way of playing this game. And when you learn this game, since there is so much rules, you can get lost and just bang your head on the walls. This is not the way. If you want to really learn efficiently and smoothly this game, you should start by the basic. You should read the introduction. You should familiarize yourself with the stats, the basic stats, and how to create a character, then how to buy a skills. And as a player, you just need the GURPS Lite version of it, or if you're more inclined to buy the book, or if you are very interested, this book is only required by the players, and the game master will need the complement of this book, campaign. Those two books together are, in fact, the basic sets. So instead of making this giant book, Steve Jackson Games just split the book apart and assume that this book would be sold more than the other one. So yeah, start small and go by iteration, just by adding little stuff as you go. Don't try to swallow it all. In the GURPS basic set number 2, campaigns, there is even a basic combat and an advanced combat. So when you start your first combat in GURPS, I would recommend to use just the basic rules of combat, the basic maneuvers, and do not stress out details. I will give you an example. I was running a game of superheroes back in the day, and I had a lot of new players around my table. So the way I did to teach them GURPS is by doing that, by introducing new rules each and every session. So the first firearm combat we had, I just asked for a skill check, and if it was successful, the action was successful, and I asked for damage. The next session I introduced the rule about hit location. Players could now shoot a bad guy in the arm or the leg with a negative on their skills, and then so on and so on. And the next session I introduced the accuracy bonus rules, then the snapshot, then we move on to driving vehicles and so forth. So it worked pretty well. Everyone learned a little tiny bits of rules every time we played. And at the end of this famous summer, everyone was like super proficient with GURPS, and players were coming with characters on their own and taking all these rules into account without even thinking about it. So I would leave you with a little another piece of advice. There is a fine gentleman on YouTube named Bradley Harvey, who is like me a GURPS guru, and I would recommend you check his videos about introduction to GURPS and character creation and all that stuff. He's really a nice guy and have a lot of very technical approach, and he's really clear about it, and I very enjoy it. So make this like an addition to this video. So thanks for watching, and I will come up eventually with other videos about GURPS.